Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Something's Wrong. This is part 2 of my episode on, or double feature episode on John Carpenter's The Thing and the 2011 prequel, The Thing. This episode, of course, focusing on the latter. Last episode, we discussed the plot and some of the brighter and more prominent aspects of John Carpenter's 1982 film, which was based off of a 1932 novella by John W. Campbell Jr., a relatively famous science fiction author of the time. I did actually read the novella. I read that a while back. And it was pretty decent from what I saw. The story was a little more complex. It kind of went a little more in depth into everyone's character. I remember the author was really obsessed about McReady and his looks. Like he called him he was a towering man, strong, a man of bronze. That's what I remember most from the novella that I read a couple years ago. Probably should have reread before making a podcast of this sort of scope. But that's really what I remember. I remember Campbell's obsession with McReady's beautiful bronze body, and McReady was pretty badass in the story too. I remember he cut an alien in half with a saw or some crazy shit like that. And it's definitely a pretty badass character, but yeah, man of bronze. That's who McReady is. I believe Kurt Russell actually did do a pretty good job of emulating that, even though he wasn't towering over everyone else in the movie. But he's a pretty stout, strong looking dude. So I guess hopefully John W. Campbell looks down or looks up perhaps on that movie and is like, hell yeah, that's my man of bronze right there. I hope so anyway. This episode, of course, is going to be focusing more on the 2011 prequel, also called The Thing. And to avoid confusion, I'm going to try and mention the previous movie as little as possible, except to, provide some points where, spoiler alert, the 1982 movie was better. Now, this might come to us as a surprise to all of you, who believe me to be some type of idiot here, but I know what can make a movie good or not. And I know that while the 2011 movie had some of that, there was also a lot of problems and a lot of issues with it that made it a little bit inconsistent compared to the general steady quality of John Carpenter's John Carpenter's film. So the 2011 movie, The Thing, was directed by... Who was it directed by? It was directed by Matthias van Hein... Oh, jeez, it's a fucking Dutch name. Matthijs van Heiningen. Matthijs van Heiningen Jr. I'm probably going to call him Heineken for the rest of the podcast, if I ever mention his name again. I'll try not to be too disrespectful because, we didn't do that bad of a job. But yeah, so the prequel, as I found out it was, focuses mainly on the events that occurred in the Norwegian camp shortly before the events of 1982, The Thing, which occurred in an American research base in Antarctica. So this is the story of the Norwegian research base. So The Thing also opens in the winter of 1982, and there's some Norwegian dudes. They're from the research base. I guess they're just kind of more like crew from the research base. They're driving around in a big snow track vehicle, and they end up falling into an ice crevasse, and they discover a big giant frozen alien ship under the ice, And when eventually the rest of the scientists get back there, and they show up, and they find the ship, both the ship, and they find a frozen ex-passenger of the ship that it appeared as though it had been thrown from the crash or had otherwise crawled out from the ship. And it's this kind of, they find this like kind of formless sort of, the ice is pretty opaque, so you can't really see exactly what it looks like, but it's some type of big ass creature in the ice. And so they kind of like, yeah, they look at that. They use like thermite and shit to like dig everything out and do a little exploration, and they take the alien. And so then the next few scenes are introducing our protagonist, paleontologist from America named Kate Lloyd. First female character, as far as I can tell, in any of the movies or the novella, which was not called The Thing. I forgot to mention that. The novella was called Who Goes There, which is definitely a pretty good title for something set in a time when people would say something like Who Goes There. I don't think anyone really talks like that anymore, so it's probably better off that they just called it The Thing. The title also kind of works off of a loosely related movie from 1951 called The Thing from Another World, but they totally changed up like the physiology of the alien and made it into like a big fucking plant thing. It's like, I don't know what the deal was with people and plants back then. You know, the Little Shop of Horrors, Thing from Another World, the Triffids. You guys remember the Triffids? No? All right. Maybe I'll do an episode on the Triffids sometime. That movie sounds like a fucking trip, or otherwise it's really fucking boring because it's about more big plant monsters. Once again, no one cares about. The invasion of the body snatchers. That's more weird plant people, weird plant aliens. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that in the 50s. They really like their plants. Anyway, but yeah, The Thing is much more. Both of the movies, The Thing, are much more based on the novella than The Thing from Another World, which is why I decided not to really discuss it at all until now when it just popped into my head. Anyway, so it's 1982. Norwegians discover the alien in the ice. We're introduced to Kate Lloyd. Kate Lloyd's a paleontologist, and she's a woman. First woman character in the Thing universe. And it's the 1980s though, and so throughout this entire movie, you're gonna get a lot of sexism. But unlike what you'd think, where it would be sexism from everybody, it's really just sexism from one shitty character, and that shitty character is Dr. Sander Halvorsen. He's some like Norwegian dude. He's played by a guy named Ulrich Thomsen. And I don't exactly... Oh, I guess he's supposed to be Danish. Which I guess sort of makes sense. That's kind of in the same area. Yeah, I don't know. I guess he's been... From what I've seen, that actor, Ulrich Thomsen, he's been in a lot of other Danish movies. Not a lot of English movies other than The Thing. So, yeah, who knows what's going on there. But it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Kate Lloyd. Mary Elizabeth Winstead coming from such... other horror films as Wolf Lake, Monster Islands. I don't know what the fuck that is. Final Destination 3, Black Christmas, and a Death Proof. She was also in Swiss Army Man, where I guess she was there somewhere where she helped Daniel Radcliffe as a corpse. I don't know, become a Swiss Army Man. Whatever. I didn't watch that movie, and I never will. So fuck off. Anyway, she's there. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Kate Lloyd. And Kate Lloyd is a paleontologist who is going to basically be bullied the entire movie by Dr. Sander Halvorsen, who is an older male, like, paleontologist. I assume paleontologist. I assume he's also a paleontologist or some type of paleobiologist. But yeah, his like assistant, his name is Adam Finch, and I guess he's another like American dude. And so Kate and Adam sort of hit it off, like, oh yeah, we're kind of the same age and we're both Americans, so we'll stick together. But yeah, so he's still kind of like Sandor's bitch, where he's just kind of like does everything. He tells Kate like, I've never seen him this excited before. And Kate's like, I don't really give a shit, but it does sound cool. Whatever he's talking about, this secret specimen that they want me to check out in the ice. And yeah, so she gets to Thule, which I guess is like the Norwegian research station, and they get there and they meet all the crew. One of whom is one of whom is the guy from Game of Thrones. If any of you seen Game of Thrones, Tormund Giantsbane. He's like a wildling. In the books, he's supposed to be this big ass barbarian, but in the movies, he's just played by like some guy. No, he's played by a short guy. A short guy who's a pretty good, pretty funny actor named Christopher. He damn it, son of a bitch. These fucking names. These names are gonna kill me. Christopher Hivju. Something like that. Either way, it's Tormund Giantsbane. He's playing a guy. He's Jonas. He's another like researcher, I guess. He's like a cool guy. Yeah, he doesn't have that much of a stake in the plot. It's really more about Kate Lloyd and her relationship with all these other scientists there. And so they take her to the ice. She thinks she knows how to get it out of the ice without damaging it, which I guess was the whole point of bringing her there. So they get it out of the ice. They put it in like a storage area that I guess is ideally would be cold enough to keep it in the ice, but I guess maybe they still want to. I don't know if they really wanted to thaw it out or not initially, but I know that Sander comes in, Dr. Halverson, dickhead. He comes in and he wants to take a sample of it. And Kate tells him like, maybe you shouldn't do that. It could be unstable and stuff. And then he basically like kind of publicly shames her and then tells her afterwards not to fucking challenge him in front of these people ever again, because she's just there to get it out of the ice. So he's like total disrespect. He's like he's like needlessly douchey throughout this whole movie, as we'll find out soon enough. Yeah, so he takes a sample of it, and they get a sample, and they're like, oh man, this thing is fucking weird, and yeah, they takes the sample into his lab, and meanwhile, so then they go and they have a party, and while they go and have a party, one guy witnesses one of the helicopter pilots. There's 2 helicopter pilots in this movie now. They're both Americans, and yeah, and so they get through. One of them witnesses the creature breaking out of the ice, which I guess had somehow been thawing the whole time, even though it's in kind of just like a dark shed in Antarctica. Once again, not as more things thawing than I'd figure would happen in Antarctica. Like, I don't really know why that ice was melting so much. Did they have like a heat vent in there? Did they mean for it to melt? Or did they mean for it to freeze and then just started melting itself? Did the creature's body heat perhaps melt it? Is that kind of what we're meant to believe, that maybe Sanders, dumbass, after taking a fucking corkscrew to the ice, he literally like drills into the ice with a corkscrew until he hits creature. And he's like, well, I guess I'll just take this sludge up out of the ice and I don't know, stick it in my ass or whatever in the fucking lab. I don't know what his problem is. But the point is that the ice is melting, and it melts enough where the one of the pilots notices it. And then he sees the creature break out of the ice and smash through the fucking roof and go out somewhere. And he's like, oh, holy shit. This thing is big and it's fucking out and it's angry. And he doesn't say the F-bomb at first. Like the first time he just says, the freaking thing came out of the ice. But then later on people are dropping like the full F-bomb later. So it's kind of weird that like, you think he'd be like, holy fucking shit, this alien came out of the fucking ice. It's huge. It jumped through the fucking roof. Holy fuck. Holy shit. This thing came in and it just broke out of the ice and went through the fucking roof, and I don't know what the fuck to do. So he's like, the freaking thing came out of the freaking ice, man. I'm like, what? Why would that? Because later, yeah. Anyway, the movie's rated R. Why wouldn't it have rated R language? Just saying. So it's like, Yeah. What the fuck? What is this note I have here? After it gets out, Hal looks like a sour bitch. Who the fuck is Halverson? Yeah, Halverson is kind of Halverson does look like a sour bitch. I remember that. He kind of looks like a sour bitch the whole movie though, so it's kind of not really not really that notable as it turns out because he's just always that. Anyway, so they go and they try and find it, and they find it like eating one of the dogs, and they get to the dogs, and the two dudes find it, and one of them like turns around and he's like, "Oh fuck, what do I do?" And then the thing shoots out a fucking tentacle, and the tentacle pierces through the other guy's chest and pulls him backwards under the shed where this thing is eating all the dogs, and that's kind of the first issue because once again we established in the original film that one of the thing's main vulnerabilities is that it's kind of fucking slow in transforming and assimilating shit. Like it seemed like it kind of needs to corner people one-on-one to get them and absorb them. But this thing, it's I guess maybe because it's like the fresh alien, it hasn't had to go into all these weak ass forms yet, but like maybe the human forms is significantly weaker than whatever it had before, which is some type of absolute monstrosity. But yeah, like in the original movie, it was slow as shit. Like it's like slowly just like come apart. It would grow like new limbs over time, and of course this is had to be this way because of the limitations of the technology this time. And I guess now that they have like proper CGI for it mixed in with some prosthetics, now they want to try and use it to its fullest extent. But having the thing just like whip out a tentacle like that when it's like in the original, it just like it would have like some tentacles and they would kind of just like wave around and kind of sludge everywhere before grabbing something. Like in this case, it's just like shoots out, fucking tongue, pierces the dude. It's like transformed something else. It lunges out, pierces the dude, kills him, pulls him under the thing and starts absorbing him. Terrifying, sure, but kind of inconsistent. And it becomes more weird, like kind of glaring as a consistency issue as the movie goes on. So yeah, that guy's dead. They're like, "Oh, fuck this. Someone go like get some shit." And then one of the dudes, of course, the only dude who doesn't speak English, his name is Lars, and he's played by another Norwegian or Scandinavian actor whose name I'm not even going to try because it was very difficult. I remember reading it and being like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to say that thing," so I'm not going to say it. But he's cool. He comes in. He can't speak English, but I guess it's kind of insinuated that he was in like the army, and so he has like military training. So he comes out with the first flamethrower. We see a fucking flamethrower, and it's like, once again, why flamethrowers? I guess maybe to melt shit out of the ice, but it's never really explained. I guess I could have probably researched if they use flamethrowers in Antarctica, like Antarctic research. Let me look that up now. They use flame. Do they use flamethrowers in Antarctica? Flamethrowers are not standard equipment at an Antarctic base. Yeah, not on Stack Exchange. That's weird. Stack Exchange, standard equipment, maintains a blog. Yeah, he's celebrated. Not in the software. Yet to locate flamethrowers. Yeah. This I don't know. Other people seem to be saying it's like, oh, maybe it's because they can melt the ice. That's my theory though. I did that and they stole it from me. And now if my theory is stupid, that means they're stupid for taking it from me. So they shouldn't have done that. Anyway, once again, no idea why there's flamethrowers, but all of a sudden Lars fucking has one, and he brings it around, and he fucking barbecues the monster, and it tries to scramble out, and it's a really big monster in this case. It's trying to scramble out everywhere, and it's like breaking through the wood and shit like that. It's got a bunch of claws and shit that are actual prosthetics and are actually pretty cool to watch, especially with the CGI backing. But like, and then it kills it, and they dissect it, and they kind of immediately find that the dude it had been eating was getting kind of reformed inside the creature. And so they're like, shit, that's fucking strange. And then they find like this metal pin, because the guy had a broken arm. And so they find like a metal pin from his arm just kind of free inside the creature. And it's like it seemed like it had taken him in and it had spit the metal back out. So they figure like, okay, it's not it's not really like doesn't really like non-organic matter. But they still don't really quite seem to understand that it's like it's like shape shifts and is trying to take their forms quite yet. They're sort of getting the idea, but not quite, and they sort of like leave it alone, which is weird once again. They also at a certain point, because this all happened during a party, one dude had gone out like into some cold storage shed to find like extra booze or whatever, and so he was caught out there when the thing was out there. So it's like, oh well, he was probably the first victim, because there's always, in this kind of similar to the original movie, there's like a first victim that's kind of like off camera, and so you don't immediately get what's going on, but eventually you kind of figure it out, as we do, pretty easily. And so eventually they take a sample of it. They take a sample, and Kate and Adam, they take a sample of it, and they kind of look at it under the microscope, and Kate sees the alien cells taking over the human cells and becoming human. And I guess Adam also kind of sees it, but like I guess he just isn't really sure of it. And this becomes kind of a major issue later on, because what happens later on is the one guy who witnessed his friend getting eaten by the alien, he's like in shock. They're gonna try and get him out of there, and they kind of try to figure out what to do. And Kate goes into the bathroom, and she finds these bloody like tooth fillings just in the shower, and then she finds like a shower full of blood. And so she freaks out, and she grabs the fillings, and she like takes them back into the room and is like, "Hey, people, this shit's happening." And fucking dickhead Halverson is like, "Shut up, woman." He doesn't say that, but he's like is like very disrespectful, like, "Why are you interrupting our important men's meeting about how we're going to get out of here and how we're going to continue this mission and what we should do with the thing?" And Kate's like, "No, look at this. I found these fucking fillings in the bathroom, and so it looks like sort of like how it spat out the dude's arm pin, and so this thing might still be with us, and so we can't let the people go out on that helicopter." And they're like, whatever, fuck you. We're just gonna let it go, because she doesn't quite get it. She goes back to like show everyone where the blood was, but the blood's been cleaned up, but she still has the fillings. And so judging from that, it's like, okay, like we have an issue here. Someone's become a thing, and it cleaned up the blood. In the meantime, inside the helicopter, you think that maybe, it's the guy in shock. He's like twitching and acting weird, like, maybe he's the thing. But then the other guy with him, who had been the guy who had gone out to get more booze and was kind of out alone in the shed, like, then he starts twitching, and it turns out he's the thing. Ooh, big surprise if you weren't paying attention to the fucking movie and like paying attention to who was alone or not. And so he like explodes into a bunch of fucking tentacles, and the helicopter goes down, and it crashes in the mountains somewhere. And they're like, "Oh fuck, oh shit, this is a tragedy." And so Kate brings them all back to the war room. Halverson continues being kind of a bitch. He's like also like friends with kind of the commander there, who's like, what the fuck is his name? I wrote down his name too. Like, Edvard. Edvard is like, he's like the Norwegian commander there. Yeah, so he's kind of out there existing. But it seems like he's kind of buddying with Halverson because they're both men and they both kind of look the same. And sometimes I kind of, while watching the movie, couldn't really tell the difference between them 100% of the time, especially on my original viewing of this movie. I couldn't really tell the difference between them in certain scenes. And so I guess that sometimes that's just how Scandinavian people work. But I just kind of wish they didn't get two guys who looked so much alike and ended up being so alike in their weird sexist, needlessly sexist personalities. And so basically, yeah. At this point, I noted in the soundtrack kind of had a vintage 80s synth sound. So obviously it was kind of an homage to some of Carpenter's other soundtracks, where it had like kind of like synth and like orchestral and things like that. They used a little bit of the original soundtrack, like the bum bum, like whatever. I don't think I got the notes right, but it's that kind of vibe where it's very intimidating. But yeah, so she tells like the whole room of people like, okay, I saw these alien cells taking shit over. And she's like, Adam saw it too. And it's like, okay, a bit of a bold move to bring Adam in when his like his superior, and I assume the guy who's funding his research and like funding his studentship or whatever is right there. But like Adam totally bitches out and he's like, I don't know what I saw. It's like, what do you mean you don't know what you saw? There's shit under the microscope. You could probably take another fucking sample right now, put it under the microscope, and get the same goddamn thing. But they never retest that because I guess shit kind of starts moving a little too fast for everyone to figure out. And so Adam pussies out, and so no one like really believes her that much, except for the one other woman on the team who's one of the biologists. And so she comes up and she's like, "Oh, I think I saw one of the other guys messing around with the keys in the car. I can show you." And Kate's like, oh, "Okay, yeah, I'll go with you alone to the garage to figure this out." And they go over to the garage together, and while the men are like getting a rescue attempt going. They're like gonna go out and like try and rescue the guys. And Kate's like, "No, don't do it. It's a dangerous." But yeah, she goes alone with the other woman scientist, and they're in the garage together. And of fucking course, almost what ends the movie immediately. Because if the other biologist was the thing, there's two biologists, a man and a woman. And so if the thing that was the woman biologist who got caught by the booze guy in the bathroom, we're meant to kind of put that together, that he caught her in the bathroom and then they both assimilated and stuff like that. Like if she managed to kill Kate right then, that would have just ended the movie right there. But luckily the lady thing, it splits into a big giant mouth with a big tentacles and a big claw arm and shit like that, and it fumbles the bag, as the kids say today. It really fucking fumbles the bag because Kate just like shoves like a shelf in front of it, and it gets like caught on the shelf, and it's like and it like fucks around with the shelf while Kate runs away. It's pretty impressive. Kate manages to run over just like a garage full of shit without stubbing a toe, tripping, barking her shin really bad. She just like hurdles over that. She's like an Olympian. It's crazy. And so she gets out of there, and the thing chases her out into the hallway. And then out there is like another guy. I believe he's either like the geologist or one of the other biologists. And he gets like the thing comes across him, and he's just like standing in the way, like, oh, and then it comes in and impales him on this big fucking spike tongue thing. And then it, and so Kate like closes the door behind her, and she's like, "Oh shit, Adam, it's fucking in there. It's in there. It's got the other biologist, and it's got Henry or whatever." And yeah, and then Lars comes around again, And this time Lars, he's got the fucking flamethrower. He's ready to go. He's like, fuck this shit. All this shit sucks. And so he comes around, and Kate opens the door for him, and he fries the thing. And the thing kind of comes out. It's kind of partially burnt, but it can still kind of move around. So it gets up on two legs and is like walking around and walks towards the kitchen, trying to put itself out. And it sets off the sprinkler system. Then Lars just burns it more because sprinklers can't stop flamethrowers, as the creature finds out shortly before it dies. And so now everyone's seen this shit, and so it's like, okay, we believe you now. This thing is here. This thing is here. It's trying to take people over. What do we got? And so it's like, all right. Me and the Dr. Halverson and Adam, they're like, okay, well, he's like, oh, me and Adam will go and try and develop a blood serum test to determine whether any of us are still the thing or not. And so, yeah, I don't know. Adam he's still a bitch. He's still a bitch. And yeah, he's always like looking nervously at Halverson, and Halverson's just kind of like, see, he always has this like stern douche face this entire time, which I guess is a testament to Ulrich's acting ability. He's able to display this like total, just like arrogant, like just such incredible amounts of arrogance. Like the writing called apparently for so much fucking arrogance from this dude. He's just constantly looking at people like they like fucking took a piss on his shoes. Like every single shot that he's in, he's always looking like just kind of like annoyed at someone. But yeah, and that goes on. And but eventually, while they're all kind of like somewhere else, the lab gets burnt down, and so they immediately suspect the people who were there in the lab. What else happens? Oh, okay. By the way, the first flamethrower we see is when the woman thing tries to get Kate, and then Lars comes around with a flamethrower. Before that, we did not have a fucking flamethrower. Before that, they used a flare to ignite some gasoline that had spilled because the creature originally, it smashed through the shed, and I guess it like broke into a fucking propane tank or something like that. Not propane, because propane's pressurized, but it was like a big gas tank, and then it gets covered in gas, and they char it with a flare and the gasoline. But yeah, that makes Lars coming out of nowhere with a fucking flamethrower all the more impressive. Later on, he shows Kate that he has like a whole fucking arsenal, like with like guns and grenades and shit in his little work shed area. And once again, no idea why he has that. There's generally no, unless it's like, I mean, it is the Cold War, but the Scandinavia was pretty neutral throughout most of the Cold War, especially Norway. Norway was not aligned with the Soviet Union, is barely aligned with NATO as far as I could tell. So I have no idea why they have that many weapons there. I guess that's just Lars's personal stash that he fucking stole from the army or something like that. But anyway, he has all these weapons. Yeah, sabotage. The lab's burnt down. Oh shit, that's not cool. Yeah, the quarantine. Yeah, so they're all trying to quarantine, but yeah, eventually they figure out that, no, not figure out. What happens? Okay, so since the blood serum test is destroyed, Kate devises kind of a temporary test to work it out. She knows that it doesn't like inorganic material. And so she figures like, okay, everyone who has fillings can't be a monster. And so that'll help narrow it down a little bit. And so like ends up being like half of the people have fillings, the other half don't have fillings. And the half that doesn't have fillings, of course, are all of the fucking top people on the site, you assume, because they're either like, you know, richer or just had like better dental work, or some of them are things. And so it's like, yeah, it's Halverson and the site commander Edvard. And Edvard's being like a real dick all of a sudden. He does not like Kate anymore one bit. And so he and Halverson are both like speaking to the other guy, like one of the other dudes other than Lars. Lars has feelings and he's already shown to be cool, so he's on Kate's side immediately. Peter, he's like another guy who's with like he was handling like the dogs earlier, and so like he's there. He has feelings, but he's like kind of nervous about it. He's obviously not that used to taking orders from a woman or whatever. And Lars has to be like, hey, fucking hold the flamethrower on them, and show us your feelings, and then hold the goddamn flamethrower. And of course, just to create maximum chaos, somehow the two American pilots managed to get back from the freaking helicopter crash. Somehow they both survived. And so everyone's like, oh, they must be monsters out there. And so Halverson and Edwards are like, the real threat is outside, Peter. The real threat is outside. Don't point the flamethrower at us anymore, Peter. The real threat is outside. Kate's like, oh, fuck. Fucking keep the flamethrower on them, Peter. And Peter's like freaking the fuck out. And then the Americans manage to get in. Lars and one other. Oh, Lars and Tormund. I'm sorry, dude. You're Tormund now. Your name is kind of hard. Yeah, Tormund. They go out to try and find the Americans. Tormund hesitates. No, Tormund's kind of like a kind of wussy. He's kind of shy. He doesn't go into the shed where he thinks that they're hiding out. But Lars is being like really bold and like kind of stupid. He goes in by himself with a freaking flamethrower, and then Tormund sees him get like tackled and like overpowered, and he's like, oh shit, oh fuck, and so he runs back and he's like, they got Lars, and so it's like maximum chaos. The other guys are yelling at Peter, and yeah, it's absolutely fucking madhouse. And they hear the Americans break in, the two American pilots, and so they come around, and Lars isn't with them. It's just the two guys, and so they're like, you killed Lars. And the fucking Edwards is telling Peter, like, they killed Lars, kill them, they killed Lars. Edwards, of course, acting really suspicious, but I guess in a chaotic situation, no one notices when their commander is going absolutely apeshit and acting like an irrational psycho. So Peter turns to maybe burn them, and then the guys pull out a pistol and shoot him dead. But in the process, that also breaks the flamethrower, and so the flamethrower blows up, and so that destroys one of their flamethrowers. And of course, luckily the other pilots have the other flamethrowers, and so they're all like, all right, hang on, fucking truce. Let's just go into the break room, figure this out. And then the explosion, Edwards gets caught in the explosion. He gets thrown against a wall, and so Tormund and like the other dude are like they're pulling him into the break room, and then surprise, surprise, Psycho Edwards, whose personality had basically changed entirely since the beginning of the movie, he's a thing, and he just transforms and he starts coming apart at the seams. And once again, we get into the main issue that I have of this movie as far as the plot structure and the characterization of the alien. And that's that in the original, in the 1982 movie, the thing is slow, and because it's slow to transform and slow to assimilate people, it needs to get you alone, and it doesn't move all that fast, and so if there's multiple people around with weapons, they can fucking kill it. But instead, in this case, the fucking dude's arm comes off. Everyone's surprised. He drops to the ground, starts shaking. The flamethrower, of course, just like in... Once again, we're to the point where it's kind of almost like a remake, because it has like the same beats as the original movie, but it's also supposed to be a prequel. The flamethrower fucks up because like the ignition thing isn't working, and so they're trying to burn it and they're panicking and it's not burning. This big fucking whip cracking tendril comes around, starts swinging around the room and smashing shit. And once again, coming back to this thing is really fast. If it was this fast in the original movie, it could have just like killed everyone. It could have just like stuck a tendril through the 3 guys in the chair. Like when they had the guys tied up and McCready was like using the hot needle to test the blood. Like they could have just, the thing could have just whipped out a tentacle, tore McCready's heart out, and then just like killed the other dudes like it was nothing. And it could have done that so easily if it was as fast as it was in this movie. But back in the 2011 present, everyone takes cover because this thing is whipping a giant tentacle around. It's like killing people. Adams tries to run away. He gets knocked down and he gets like his like kidney torn out, or like, I don't know. It goes into his torso and then comes out with something red. And he's like, ah! And it's like, ah, shit. And he's trying to like get away. You can't fucking get away. The other pilot, one of the 2 pilots, he pulls out his pistol and tries shooting at the thing. I guess, it kind of makes sense. He doesn't know that the thing can't really be stopped by bullets, but I don't know. He saw that they had to burn it earlier, so I don't know why he thought a pistol was going to do the job. But he shoots at it a couple times, and the thing notices him, and it whips its tentacle over at lightning speed and pins him against the wall and rips out his heart. Literally rips out his heart. It's like crazy shit where it's like, this is just like some type of super accurate assassin thing that's like really, really, I mean, it has the strength of the thing, but it's also fast, and it also can like see and shit, and it's like, and it can like see where all the threats are coming from. And so eventually it tears out that dude's heart. Everyone stops. They're trying to get the flamethrower to work. But it still isn't like working. And so the thing crawls over Adam, and it like, instead of like, biting him or like putting more tentacles on him, it like fuses Edward's face with Adam's face. And of course that's meant to be like the specimen that they took in the 1982 film, the one where it's like a 2-faced humanoid kind of going just up at the sky, and you both and as it fuses together, they both like do a simultaneous scream. Adams is going because he's a bitch, and then Edward is going because they were running out of fucking sound effects to use. And so he fuses together, and they just kind of like crab walks away with these weird ass limbs. And I guess over time, kind of their limbs just become more fused together and like turn to bigger giant limbs. So it becomes just like a 2-person fucking monster hunting people down. Yeah. And so finally, I guess it leaves them alone, luckily, because Kate finally gets the fucking flamethrower to light again. They just use like a match or some shit, or the other pilot does. I forget. It's either the American pilot or Kate. They get the flamethrower to work because they just like relight the gas on it. And yeah, and so they end up going around. People again chased by the. Oh, and by the way, the arm that came off right in Tormund's hands, and then it just like became a little thing and attached to his face and started like digesting his face, and that was pretty gruesome. It was pretty gruesome to see. So Kate, once she got the flamethrower working, she had to go and mercy kill Tormund with a flamethrower. Didn't really look like that much of a mercy kill, because when she burned him, he was still like thrashing around like he was in pain. But obviously things weren't going to get better for him with his fucking eyeball sinking into his skull and everything. Then she burns the other bodies, and then it's like, okay, we gotta go find this other thing. Fucking Dr. Sander, who as it turns out was he was just a douche. He wasn't even a fucking thing the whole time. He was just some like just human asshole, kind of sabotaging everything that Kate wanted to do just because he didn't like her. It's like, what a dick. And so he ends up going in the kitchen, and he gets cornered by the fucking thing, and it's like, you just see him sort of like, it's obscured by like a shelf or whatever, and you see it attack him. We don't really know how it kills him or what it does to assimilate him, but whatever, doesn't matter. So that happens, and so then they kind of go through the kitchen. The remaining radio guy, he had no purpose in the movie other than to say that like, oh, the radios aren't working very well. I don't really know what to do out here because the conditions are too terrible for me to do the radio. And he doesn't really do anything else. I guess he says some like he like has some contribution to like some conversations or whatever. He's like, overall he's just kind of like he's just freaked out. And so he goes into his radio room and he goes in and he slits his wrist and he becomes the frozen corpse from the uh, camp in the first one that has the frozen blood coming out of it. So yeah, so he goes in. I guess he kills himself. Yeah, Sander gets got, and so it's just Kate and the other pilot dude, and they go out and they find end up finding the two man Edwards Adam thing, and they kind of bait it, like the American guy baits it in, and then Kate comes around and flanks it with the flamethrower, and they burn it. And Kate actually burns it a lot. Like, she burns it a ton, to the point where the pilot guy is like, it's enough, it's okay. But then we later find out that somehow that, of course, in the original movie, we find out that wasn't okay. Like, it got burned to a crisp, but like it was still able to bleed like fresh blood. So it's like, I don't know how much do you actually got to burn the things, because she burned it like way more than the other, like than the lady thing got burned, and like way more than they burned the dogs and shit like that. Like, so it's like, how much did they got to burn this thing to kill it? I don't know. Just kind of a weird thing. Maybe it was a different one. Maybe there was another. Maybe another thing got fused or something. But no, that was the two-faced thing. So if you'd figure that was the same one, and somehow it survived. I guess it just had a lot of mass because it got two people together and turned into one creature. So I guess that's cool. Yeah, they go out because they don't find Sander's body, and so they assume he's gone out somewhere, and they correctly have the hunch that he's gone back to the site of the original spaceship. Well, actually, no, that's not a hunch. They see him literally take one of the tractors out there, so it's like, oh, Sander. They also hear him die, so they're like, okay, it got Sander, so Sander's a thing. Let's go get him. And so all of this up to this point has been mostly okay. It's been pretty scary. The effects have looked decent. Like, some of the CG, it's like it doesn't blend in perfectly with prosthetics and stuff like that. It doesn't always look super realistic. But it's been okay up to this point. And so but the ending, though, the ending is where shit gets real goofy, as far as I can tell. Because it kind of seems like it becomes like way more like sci-fi at the end, because they come back to the ship, and it's like this big, like mostly CGI ship, and so they're there, and they're like walking along on top of it, and all the vents start coming up because it seems like the ship's kind of getting activated again. And I don't really know how. You figured that it crashed, and if it was workable, then the alien would have used it. But whatever. So they comes back. They end up getting separated because Kate falls into a freaking vent, and inside it, she's walking through the halls, and she finds this like freaking organic, like just like this computer that's like a hologram made of cubes that I guess is like a computer or like some type of control system for the ship. It's not really explained. It's probably not really a major reason to make it that way, other than the director just wanted to add some cool original sci-fi shit, because almost everything else was kind of taken almost not quite beat for beat from the original, but like a lot of stuff kind of lined up the same. So it's like, okay, I'll add my own thing, I guess. And it's like that was like the way that the ship was. Yeah, so it's just like a CGI bunch of cubes that I guess are supposed to control the ship or whatever, or do something. So she finds that, and then like she's kind of looking around, and then the fucking Dr. Sander thing sneaks up behind her. It's like in the shadows. It sneaks up behind her. It's like feet from her. It's feet from her, and it has these tentacles that we've seen that can fucking jump out at you from it any moment's notice. And like it's like feet behind her. And before this, let me just preface here. So somehow the other pilot managed to get into the ship, and he comes into like another part of the ship, and we see him with the flamethrower kind of coming around. He's just kind of like walking around in places, and it's just like he's like by himself. He's like, he hears something. He's like, "Hello, Kate? Kate, is that you? Is that you, Kate?" And so he goes down there, and then it cuts away. So it's like, oh, what's gonna happen to him? Well, and then we get back to Kate, and she's by the cube computer, and the thing sneaks up behind her. It's this big bipedal thing. I don't know why it really likes going all two legs now, but it fucking does. It really likes two-legged things, even though the four-legged thing was what managed to kill the most people. And in the original movie, it rarely ever used two legs at all. It only used two legs once, and that was because it had to like go really quick, or like it had to like just fucking transform really quick and get out of that fucking chair. But god damn it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps wanting to go on two legs, but now it's just like a big like giant butthole with teeth on two legs with like arms and tentacles and shit. And it comes up behind her, and she like kind of, I guess she just finally, even though it's a silent goddamn ship, she hears it just like slapping around with its fucking meat tentacles behind her, just going blah, blah, blah. She finally hears it when it's feet away, and she manages to somehow like just roll out of the way while it lunges towards her like a big stupid zombie. And it still has Halverson's face for some reason. I guess just to add the creep factor, it's just like Halverson's CGI'd face on this CGI monstrosity. And then the face splits open into a big butthole mouth of more tentacles and teeth and shit. And it's like, blah, it's reaching over all the tentacles. And she manages to be faster than it this time. And she manages to get into like a vent. And I don't know why there's like a weird tunnel vent on this futuristic alien ship. But goddamn, she gets in that vent. And it's just like it's not quite able to reach her, even though it's like a thing that can transform into anything, but it can't quite reach her with its many tentacles. And also, she at some point she managed to grab some of Lars's grenades, and yeah, he managed to grab some of Lars's grenades, and so she's like trying to get one of them. Like I guess one like fell off of her pocket or something like that. And so it's just like it's like a T junction in this vent, and she's in like one arm of the T, and then the other half of the T is the grenade, and in between is the monster trying to come through with all the tentacles, and then all the tentacles back up, and like she's able to like she kind of like stupidly is like, oh, I guess maybe it went away, and so she like goes and she's like trying to grab the grenade. She tries to grab the grenade, and the tentacles get her. Oh, no. And instead of just killing her in that freaking vent, like with the tentacles, or just like letting the tentacles fucking do their thing and just like eat her from a distance, it drags its ass out of the fucking vent. It backs way up so it can drag her all the way out of the vent, and then lets her go so it can like stand up to its full height and roar and go ah, with all its fucking tentacles. And while it's just like roaring and like lumbering back towards her because it backed up like 50 fucking feet for no reason, she fucking pulls the pin on the grenade and throws it into the thing's mouth butthole. And then the thing swallows the grenade. It doesn't even spit it back out. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, a grenade. What do I even do? I don't even know what to do about this. And it fucking blows up. It blows up, and it doesn't even like burn the whole thing. Because, I mean, it's just, but I guess, I don't know, it blows up a lot. Like, I guess it must be a really powerful incendiary grenade, because it blows up, and it burns the thing, and it blows up the ship's control computer, which I guess was trying to activate the ship again to get it out of the fucking ice. And I guess she blew up the control center, and so that stopped the ship from getting out of the fucking ground. And so all the engine, you see all the engines die down and stuff like that. And then at the end of this, oh wow, big fucking help! The other American pilot guy shows up, and he's like, "Oh shit, Kate, did you get it?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think I got it." It's just like, oh my fucking god, literally, yeah. Oh my god, it's just so dumb that it backs up and doesn't eat her. And then so the American pilot and Kate leave the ship, and yeah, so the American pilot and Kate leave the ship together, and they're walking back to the track, and then Kate notices something. She notices that an earring that had been on his ear wasn't no longer in his ear. Like that it had been there when they were going to the ship. And then she notices that it isn't there now. And so she's like, oh, and she's like kind of silently comprehends this. And she's like, oh, hey, I'll go ahead and put these flamethrowers in the back over here. And the pilot guy, he's like, oh, okay. Sounds good. He's just like fucking like checking his mirrors or whatever in this tractor. And yeah, once again. And so Kate comes around and she has the flamethrower in her hands. And the pilot's like, Kate, what are you doing? And she's like, you know how I know you were human? He's like, your earring. You had an earring. And he like checks the wrong ear like a big stupid fuck. And he's like, and she was like, it was your other ear. And he's like, oh, Kate, let's talk about this. He doesn't even like transform or anything. He doesn't try and do some sort of desperate move. He barely even tries to get out of the truck, even though there's a door on his side. And so Kate just barbecues him and he goes, no! Just a bunch of like alien fucking noises in there. Just, but he doesn't even transform or do anything cool. She just burns him in the truck. And then I guess she just like fucking sits out there and freezes to death. Which is, I guess that's cool. Or I guess that's cool and fine. I don't know why they don't find her afterwards. Like no one finds her body, so I don't know. Maybe she gets out somehow. But my main question is, the flamethrower was in the pilot guy's hands, and he gets turned into a fucking monster. And he gets turned into a thing. We assume, because he's a thing by the end when he comes out of the ship. So we assume he gets turned somewhere inside the ship. And so my question is, she was walking out ahead of him. She didn't have any more grenades, or it didn't look like she had more grenades. And even then, that wouldn't have fucking mattered all that much. Why? She was generally unarmed, pretty much. Why didn't it just fucking burn her when it had the chance? It has the fucking flamethrower. It obviously knows how to use the flamethrower because it still has it on its fucking back, and all the other things knew how to act like people for the most part. So it's like, what the fuck? Why didn't it just shoot her in the back, or just like take off the flamethrower and then just eat her from behind? Didn't mean to make it sound that way, but why didn't it just fucking attack her from behind at any point, or corner her, or even let her drive the truck? Like, let her get into the truck first. I guess it wanted to be able to get out of there. Like, it wanted to try and drive all the way to the nearest, like base camp or something, or get back and try and stay warm and, like, cuddle with her or something like that. Like, I don't know what the fuck its deal was. It let itself get cornered, and then it just, like, sat there and was like, no, while it got fucking burned. So stupid. Like, that was, like, probably the dumbest thing. Like, what even was its plan now that the ship was gone? Was its plan just to, like, fucking wait it out at the place? Did they have enough gas to get back to the thing? Why didn't Kate take the truck back if they thought there was going to be enough gas to get back to the thing? Maybe it just wanted to freeze in the ice, like what happened in the original movie? Or, like, what it apparently was, what it was inferred that it wanted in the original movie? Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Just, no. Like, what the fuck is that? So stupid. So I guess she just kind of sits there and freezes to death. She doesn't even go, because I guess she's burned the tractor. So it's like, oh, well, I guess, and it's not like there's another tractor, even though there is. And it's like, so I guess she just sits out there and freezes to death, because I don't think they ever decided to make a sequel to this thing later on. They probably could. Maybe they will at some point, but I don't know. All I know is that Kate most likely just fucking freezes to death because she just sits out there with a flamethrower. The final scenes of this movie are the next day. The next day, the helicopter pilot, I guess they didn't have another helicopter because they were taking their one helicopter in to, like, refuel and, like, repair and stuff like that. And so the other pilot guy, he comes back. I guess he's like a Norwegian pilot. And so he comes back with a helicopter and he lands it. And he notices, oh fuck, this camp's all fucked up. And he sees a dog jump out of the building. I don't really remember what happened to the other dogs. I don't remember if they were put down or if it was just assumed that they were all like assimilated. But like, yeah. So a dog starts running across the snow, and then fucking Lars breaks out of nowhere. Like, where the fuck was Lars this whole time? They didn't like they never figured that out. They never went to go and find Lars to see if he was cool. They were just like, all right, we just got to go kill this thing. And I guess it kind of made sense in the time frame that they had. But like, what the fuck was Lars doing? Was he tied up? If he was tied up, he would have frozen to death. Was he really just unconscious for that long? Maybe. Like, what did they do to knock him out? All the pilots said when they had come into the back into the base was like, we didn't kill him. It's like, all right, what does that mean? Tell us where he is then. Like, what is your fucking problem? She never asked, where's Lars again, even though he was her firmest ally throughout this entire thing. She just buddies up with this fucking American. He's just like obviously a dumbass and just like, well, not obviously a dumbass, but is, hasn't proven to be as trustworthy as Lars and already got fucking friend killed. So it's like, what's even happening? Yeah, so Lars comes out and he's like, fucking, he's got a rifle. He's pointing at his friend. He's like, open your mouth in Norwegian. And the guy is like, okay, Jesus Christ, Lars, we're cool. And he opens his mouth and he has filling. So Lars is like, oh shit, all right. Oh no, I think then he sees the dog break out. He sees the dog jump out. I have no idea what Lars and the dog were doing that whole time. Like, was Lars trying to hunt down all the dogs? Is that what was happening? And the dogs were all those. Maybe we'll get a little short film sometime of Lars shooting dogs over and over again. I'm sure that'll be a fucking delight. Maybe they'll put that shit on Paramount Plus. Lars shoots dogs. A thing story. Lars shoots dogs. A thing story. Directed by Werner Herzog. Lars walked through the corridors and went through and he shot all the dogs. And that's it. That's the whole movie. That is the entire film. Anyway, yeah, so Lars is like, that's no dog. You gotta go. And he's got his big fucking chest full of grenades and he's got a rifle. He's like, let's go. And so they get up in the helicopter and they chase the dog in the helicopter. And the last scene of the movie is Lars shooting over and over again at the dog. And that's how we find out that he's the gunman from the helicopter who was trying to hunt down the dog. And which once again brings us back all the way back to the original 1982 John Carpenter's The Thing. Why the fuck is he such a bad shot? Like, I guess maybe the helicopter guy, he isn't used to that type of flying where it's like, all right, hold still, get a good angle so I can shoot this thing. But Lars has like fucking military training. You think he'd at least be able to get a straight line bead on the dog with a scoped rifle and not just like lob fucking grenades at it. And it's like, I don't even know why he thinks like a rifle would be a good idea if he saw that it was just like, it just shook off, bullets before that. Because I think actually in the very first time they try and kill it, they shoot at it, and that doesn't really do much because it's too big and too tough, and so the bullets don't really stop it. And also because it's like some type of multi-celled hive mind type of organism. So bullets don't stop. So I don't know why Lars is like, whatever, I'll shoot it from the helicopter. I guess maybe the idea is shoot it from the helicopter and then blow it up with a grenade. But still doesn't explain why he's such a bad shot both in the air and on the ground. And so I guess that's meant to leak. Okay, that leads us into John Carpenter's The Thing, because that leads into the first scene of that. So cool. Prequel achieved. But in a relatively stupid manner. Like, I don't know. It was really the last half of the third act. I guess it really is just the third act of the movie where it's in the fucking spaceship. But like, god damn, like everything about that just seems like rushed as far as a writing standpoint went. I think they were really just worried about getting the spaceship to look cool, and it did look pretty cool. Like it wasn't like anything like super special, crazy design other than the cube computer, other than the fucking Nintendo Cube that they had running the entire goddamn ship. But like, I mean, it just felt so rushed and so dumb. Like, why did it drag her out of the fucking vent so it could gloat at her? Just like, ah, yes, I have you, Kate. I am an alien and I'm also sexist, and I also don't think that women should be in STEM. Get these goddamn women out of STEM, I say, I being the thing of the thing in the ship. I am the alien, the thing, and I don't believe women should have paleontologist roles in any research facility ever. It's like, I don't know. It's just fucking dumb. That ending was dumb. That's all I really have to say about that. But yeah, I mean, overall, not a terrible film. Not bad as far as being a prequel goes. You know, it gives us some notable characters. It gave us some scary scenes, some pretty cool transformations. Like the effects weren't bad. Sometimes they didn't quite blend in well with like the rest of the background. But when they did blend in, like from what I remember, they used a mixture of CGI and real props. And that kind of blend of stuff, sometimes that worked really well. And other times it worked less well, like when it had fucking Dr. Dickhead Sanders' face on the fucking flesh butthole, two-legged butthole biped tentacle monster. And like, then that didn't look very good. That looked pretty fucking stupid. But I mean, other than that, you know, some pretty cool stuff up until the very end. And you know, once again, it's kind of uncertain how strategic and how smart the thing actually is. And then the other main issue was the inconsistency with the freaking speed of the monster. And, you know, if it was just a fucking killing machine that can whip out a fucking agile tentacle that's faster than a person can shoot, then, like, why didn't it just kill everyone in the original movie? Just go on a fucking rampage while everyone was asleep and just go blah, 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 tentacle, tentacle, tentacle. You know, could have just killed everyone and then assimilated them. Or maybe it has to assimilate them alive or something, but it didn't seem like it had to assimilate everyone alive. It seemed like the dogs were all fucked up. It seemed like the people were all fucked up every time they got him, so I assume it could just probably assimilate a fucking dead person. Whatever. That's about enough of that movie. I guess the soundtrack was fine. A lot of homages to the original and to like 80s horror in general. John Carpenter style synth involved sometimes. So that was kind of cool. The overall a little bit lackluster, inconsistent. The ending was fucking dog shit, kind of. Not total dog shit, but like it was pretty fucking dumb. No. Fuck that. Anyway, so I want to end this off with something that I'd like to continue on in other episodes. I think that as a very serious podcaster and connoisseur of literature and art, I think it's very important to keep track of new minds, new material, the new voices of horror. Because we have, of course, you can fall on classics like John Carpenter's The Thing and Jaws and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I'd like to do an episode on at some point just because it's good and it'll make me happy. Well, it's okay. It's okay. We'll get to that at some point. But yeah, you have all the classics you can fall back to, but you know, it doesn't always get the full story as far as the wide range of horror that extends into today. And I think that one of the best repositories of new voices and young minds in horror is on the Reddit forum r/nosleep. And because I wanna make sure these voices are heard. I'm going to list off some of the top titles from the top recent titles from r/no sleep. No Sleep, of course, is a forum for Redditors who are writing little first-person horror stories. The description, of course, is that No Sleep is a place for Redditors to share their scary personal experiences. So it's basically meant to be like a thing where it's like pretending that your story is real, but there's generally is no effort in pretending that the story is really real. It all sounds very, very fictional. And but this is where the kids hang out to make scary stories. So let's see what they got. We'll go with a new over here. Here's some titles. I've always been a practical man. One day, it almost killed me. The Whispering Forest. My husband was living a double life. Now all I see is his rotten face. I shouldn't have taken the midnight train home. Something happened at work. The Cure for Humanity. The Northern Lights aren't what you think they are. We played the red door, yellow door game. And finally, a weird kid stole my friend's skin. Ooh, another good one. I found an old episode of Curious George in my attic. ... that I've never seen before. So those are all the new ones. I'll point out some ones that are like the top stories from let's say the past week. I'll read off some of the top ones from the past week. So you already got all of those. That's a list of the most recent ones. Here's some of the top stories, the most upvoted from other Redditors from the past week. Attention! Will the person who adopted this cat please contact me immediately? All caps. Another one. My neighbor got a dog. I don't think it's actually a dog. Third one is, my daughter sent me these emails 2 weeks ago. The police don't think they're suspicious. She hasn't contacted me since. Am I going crazy? That's pretty long, but okay. My college has frequent lockdowns. This time they're not letting us out. Let's see. Ooh, what's the longest title in here? Oh, there we go. My boyfriend works the graveyard shift at our local Tim Hortons, and he's interested in sharing some of his ... experiences. All right. And I think probably to showcase all of these new minds of horror, I think probably what I'll do is I'll ask you. I already said all of them, but in whatever description that I can fill out as soon as this episode goes up, I'll make sure to list some of those in the description, and then ideally one of you out there in the audience can choose which one that I will read on the next podcast. And I think that'll be a fun way to kind of start off podcasts, new episodes of each podcast, instead of me just kind of trying to make an intro. It makes it much easier for me to just be able to say, hey, welcome to Something's Wrong. Here's attention. Will the person who adopted this cat please contact me immediately? Oh, fuck, I'm gonna hate these fucking goddamn titles. Yeah, that story. I'll read that story instead of having to figure out an intro, and then we'll go into the main topic of the podcast, whatever that may be. Yeah, right now I'm trying to make these episodes come out as quickly as possible. I'm trying to record everything as quickly as possible. I have a good bit of material stacked up. I have ideas for even more material coming soon. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. The second part went a little bit longer than the first, but I wasn't really sure how much more material I was going to have. I am glad that I split it up, because I guess it probably would have made the original cut about 2.5 hours long almost. So I'm glad I did cut it up into 2 episodes. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. More episodes coming soon. Don't fucking do anything I wouldn't do. And don't dig shit up out of the ice that you can't identify. And I guess make sure to eat a shitload of candy. So if you do dig something up out of the ice that you can't identify, it can't imitate you, because you'll have fillings. You'll have metal filling. I don't know if they use metal fillings anymore. What the fuck am I talking about? Maybe ceramic? Would it work as ceramics? I don't know. The other guy, I remember they talked about it in the movie. They said there wasn't fucking, the guy had ceramics, but wouldn't ceramics get spit out too? It's like, don't be a dickhead. Fucking chip your tooth, bitch. Chip your tooth and show me that you're not a fucking alien. How do you do that, Edvards? You fucking alien bitch. Fucking alien bitch. Yeah, anyway, goodbye, everyone. Edwards is an alien bitch, and so is Adams. I'm glad they fucking kissed each other to death at the end of the movie. Fuck off.